When somebody's done you wrong, like in SZA's song Kill Bill, you will want to go to any lengths to get them back. But revenge comes at a cost. And so in this video, I want to talk about the future problem of getting revenge now. And then I want to share the secret of how to overcome your desire for revenge altogether. So some time ago, I built my kids a tree house. This was like a vision that I had for a long time of wanting them to do that. But to my surprise, my neighbor not only didn't like it, he tried to have it torn down. And it bothered me so much. I was like, what kind of person wants to tear some kid's tree house down? You know, I imagine you've probably been insulted before, or stolen from, or cheated on, or somebody's done something to you that's just really made you just like want to get them back. I mean, that's our instinct. Our instinct is we've got to get them back, because I mean, if we don't, who will? But revenge costs us so much more than we think. I mean, revenge could potentially lead to some serious, serious regret. Well, in the true story of an outlaw warrior named David, we see the best response when you want revenge. This wasn't David's idea, but the wisdom that was shared with him saved him from deep, deep regret. And that's what I want for you too. So here's the story. So David was this outlaw warrior who was destined to be king, and everybody knew it. But while he was an outlaw, he was living out in the wilderness, and he and all of his men, and there was a man named Nabal who had his flock and his men who were kind of taking care of their sheep and all of his possessions out there in the wilderness. Well, it was a dangerous place, and so David, this outlaw, ends up protecting, he along with all of his men, they end up protecting all of Nabal's property. You know, nobody asked him to, he just did that out of his own free will, because that was the type of person that he was. Well, after some time passes, and Nabal's men, they go home, and they're out, you know, celebrating, you know, how good business has been over the past, you know, however long. David sends some of his men to go to Nabal's home to ask a favor. Like, hey, I have protected you and your men. In fact, your business could not have grown the way it did unless, you know, I had come and protected you. So he sends his men, and Nabal not only rejects David's request for help, he ends up insulting him, saying, "Who is this David? I've never heard of him. Get out of here." Well, David's men, they come back to him and they report everything. Well, David, he's insulted. I mean, this is not just somebody who has offered to help and has helped. Like, this is somebody who's been destined to be the king, and now Nabal has insulted him. So David tells all of his men, he says, hey, get your swords. We're going to destroy Nabal for what he's done. I mean, he was feeling that desire for revenge that we often feel when somebody has insulted us. So he gets his men, and they're on their way to destroy Nabal. Well, Nabal is unaware of what's happening, but his wife Abigail hears about it. So Abigail ends up packing all of this, you know, good, you know, food and all these supplies and all this stuff, and she hurries out to intercept David, you know, before he gets to Nabal. And she comes down and she gets, you know, off of her donkeys and all this stuff, and she presents all these gifts to David, and she says, please, 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 don't do what you're about to do. And David, who's still feeling this desire for revenge, he's listening to her, but he's also still wanting to go and do, you know, what he's planned, until Abigail gives this wisdom to him. She says, listen, David, one day you are going to be the king. And when you become the king, you don't want to have the grief and the staggering burden of innocent bloodshed. You don't want to do this. When you come into your kingdom, you don't want everyone in your kingdom to know what you've done. David, you don't want this to hold you back. And see, that's the wisdom. The wisdom of what Abigail is sharing with David is that getting back holds you back. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line of what I'm trying to tell you right now. Listen to what she's saying. Getting back is going to hold you back, because when you come into your kingdom and everything is going well for you, you don't want this instance of you taking revenge to hold you back. So how do you want your response to be remembered? in that moment when you want revenge, look into the future and think, how do I want to look back on my response? Because getting back holds you back. See, here's the problem though with revenge, is that even if you're able to, think about the future and think about how you want to look back, the problem is that even if you can overcome that instance, that the desire for revenge, it continues to build and build and build until eventually it gets uncorked and unleashed on everything. All of that buildup from all of those times where you've exercised your willpower of not, bringing on revenge, it gets bottled up and unleashed on somebody. How do you overcome that? Well, I'm standing outside the Civil Rights Museum here in downtown Atlanta, and there's a quote that Martin Luther King says about revenge, and it causes me to really think. What he says is, "Man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation." What he's saying is that we have to have a new method. We have to change our methods because our desire for revenge is so great. Our desire to get back is so great. We have to evolve. Otherwise, we'll just kill each other. So here's the secret for how we can overcome our desire for revenge, our desire to get back, how we can overcome that all together. And it goes back to the story that we said earlier. It's to see how that we, in our relationships, in the way that we've treated other people, how we have been liking the ball. We have insulted others. We have caused harm. And yet Jesus Christ, just like Abigail, rushed out to intercede, to stand in the way, to take all the blame upon himself for everything that we have done. That's brought about rescue in our lives. And when we can see that he has taken the blame for everything that we've done wrong, that paves the way for us to be able to forgive others when they've done wrong to us. So here's the best response when you want revenge, the secret that allows you to overcome all of that desire that could have been building up, all of that resentment that you've carried, and prevent that from being unleashed on others. It's to trust Jesus. Trust him and receive forgiveness for what you have done, and trust him that he will take care of all of the wrongs done to you. Put your trust in Jesus and receive and experience that deep peace in your soul. Hey, I'd love to know what you think about this idea. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you found this video helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend.